Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is set to release in October 2024 and the hype for this game is red hot. The return of Budokai Tenkaichi sent Dragon Ball gamers into an absolute frenzy and people have been chomping at the bit to get their hands on this game. And if you are one of them, let me know by liking this video right now, because if you don't like this video right now, then they're gonna delay the game to 2099 and Goku is gonna come to your house and he's gonna Kamehameha you in your face. Hit that thumbs up right now, lend me your energy as I take you on this journey from the very first teaser trailer, history of Budokai Tenkaichi 4 speculation, roster theories and concerns, most wanted characters, news and updates, look backs at previous games in the series, all leading up to the official name reveal of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. This is the road to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Stop saying dumbass things! You're not even making sense!
When talking about the Budokai Tenkaichi series, you have to understand that this series was a trailblazer for Dragon Ball games. A 3D arena fighter, authentic to the anime in terms of combat, movements and environment, was every Dragon Ball fan's dream back then. It's easy for a younger fan now to look back at it and not be very impressed with it, but this series really helped define an entire generation of Dragon Ball fans. It started with the Budokai series first, and then in 2005 we got the first Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi game, also known as Dragon Ball Z Sparking. This game here might be the most polarizing of the bunch, because while people may remember it as the start of the iconic trilogy, it didn't necessarily hit the mark. To me, it just looked and it felt like a scrapped idea for the first Budokai game that was just revisited. But to its credit, it had the ideas and the ambition and the direction there, but the execution did not hit for lots of people. But we definitely had something there, and Budokai Tenkaichi 1 deserves its flowers for being where it all began and for laying the foundations for what was to come. And what came next definitely blew its predecessor out of the water. 2006's Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2, also known as Sparking Neo, was a vast improvement from the first game. This game unfortunately suffers from middle child syndrome and it often gets forgotten, which is a huge shame. Not only did it level up in number, but it leveled up in just about every other aspect too. It took the vision of the first Tenkaichi game and perfected it. They stick the landing this time. And although its sequel may be the most popular of the bunch, there are a lot of folks who cite Tenkaichi 2 as their favorite. A large part of that is its story mode, which is considered to be the most detailed of the bunch. So it gets extra points for that. But how do you even top this game? I mean, look at the cover art.
Amazing!
I don't even think it was necessarily topped, but I definitely think that the next game was more than a worthy successor, and of course I am talking about the legendary and near mythical Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. The holy grail of Dragon Ball games, arguably the most iconic and well known of the bunch. We live in an age where some folks think it's cool to hate on popular things and something that can be so beloved that it sometimes becomes overrated. But no, respect the GOAT. This is where real beef was settled. When people say that, it's not a meme, it's not a joke. It was as real as can be. This game took the vision of the first Tenkaichi game and it took the perfection of Tenkaichi 2 and it made it even more perfect. One of, if not the biggest rosters ever in a Dragon Ball game. This game has all the important and even some of the not so important characters from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon Ball Z movies, and Dragon Ball GT. From Yajirobe all the way to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, this game had just about everyone that you can imagine. And they all felt really fun and unique to play. I didn't bring up gameplay elements or game modes for the other games because I wanted to cover it here as a whole. Across these games there was just so much to do. All of these iconic characters and forms to choose from, and this was a time where Dragon Ball GT was still really popular and people actually liked it, as opposed to now where they either pretend to hate it or they haven't watched it. So it was really fun playing as Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Vegeta and Gogeta, and villains like Baby and Omega Shenron and even Oob. Some of these characters haven't even been in that many games, but they were all here. You could test yourself against a computer or play against another person and settle your beef, as I mentioned before. You had your training and tutorials to master the controls and your combos to get better. There were fun modes like World Tournament, Survival Mode, Battle 100 and simulators. And of course the story mode, which allows you to play through the complete story of Dragon Ball with its iconic fights and while unlocking new characters. The gameplay got better with each entry in the series. There are a lot of combos that you can pull off. You can fight on the ground, in the sky and even underwater. Some battles get so intense that you can even destroy mountains, buildings and even the entire planet. There are lots of techniques like the instant transmission or iconic super attacks from the series that you can use, like the Kamehameha, the Final Flash and even the Dragon Fist, which doesn't make that many appearances in games. Rest in peace to all the controllers that we broke rattling the analog stick during clashes and beam struggles, by the way. Gone but not forgotten. Tenkaichi 1 might not age that well by today's standards, but if you go back and play 2 and 3, then you can still have fun and enjoy them. They aged really well and they deserve all the love they get. It was really the ultimate Dragon Ball experience. So where did the Tenkaichi series go after its iconic trilogy? We still got games like Burst Limits and Infinite World from the Budokai series, but where did this series go? Well, actually, we did sort of get a new Tenkaichi game after the trilogy. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team came out for the PlayStation Portable in 2010. It may have had a smaller roster, but it definitely isn't lacking in content. There's still a story to play and quite a few game modes to enjoy. You have all the main players from Dragon Ball Z, including movie favorites like Gogeta and Broly. It's basically a portable version of Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that you can play on the go, with the special gimmick of there being 2-on-2 tag team battles in this game to slightly freshen things up. The gameplay is exactly the same, and honestly, the graphics might even be a little better. It remains to this day one of the PSP's most elite titles. Something, however, that isn't elite is the criminally named Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi. Many people, including myself, don't even consider this game to be a part of the Tenkaichi series. It's one of the worst Dragon Ball games of the modern era, and it deserves to be forgotten about and buried. It doesn't live up to the game at all whatsoever. On a positive note though, let's talk about the true successor of the Tenkaichi series. And I'm not talking about Xenoverse, but I am talking about the Raging Blast games. Dragon Ball Raging Blast 1 and 2 honor the legacy of the Budokai Tenkaichi games, and while they aren't directly named as such, they basically are at their core Budokai Tenkaichi games. The gameplay and mechanics and everything really are all identical with very minor changes and some new mechanics. The Raging Blast games actually have better graphics and feel a bit more slick and smoother to play, honestly. They also deserve love, a lot of love. Raging Blast players and Budokai Tenkaichi players are two different generations of Dragon Ball gamers, and I was lucky enough to play through both eras at their peak. And when Budokai Tenkaichi 4 comes out, I hope that this new game will unite those two generations with the new generation of Dragon Ball gamers, because we all deserve to feel the magic again, whether it be for the first time or once again.
Dragon Ball Z! Tenkaichi Tag Team!
The PlayStation Portable, also known as the PSP, was a generational piece of hardware. A true gem of its time. It gave us the thrilling action and fun that a console could give us, and compacted it into a handheld device filled with all the charm that only PlayStation can give you. That you could enjoy from anywhere at any time on the go at the palm of your hand. With exclusive titles from Juggernaut series like Grand Theft Auto, Tekken, Mortal Kombat and more, it's no surprise that the PSP had its crack at Dragon Ball as well. And it did pretty darn good, I'd say. We got two kick-ass games in Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai and Shin Budokai Another Road, and even one other game that I'm not going to mention or talk about, but you can watch me play here. But the PSP somehow managed to outdo themselves. They managed to one-up themselves. The Shin Budokai games faithfully continued the Budokai series and offered arguably the best and most fun gameplay of the bunch. So where do you even go from there? Well, just like before, after the Budokai series came the Budokai Tenkaichi series. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team released in 2010 as a faithful continuation to the Budokai Tenkaichi trilogy. It perfectly adapted the gameplay and mechanics of the previous games while also crafting an identity of its own. The final hurrah of Dragon Ball on PSP, this game ensured that we went out with a bang. This game is extremely addictive and fun, pretty much a handheld version of Budokai Tenkaichi 3. It tests the PSP's limits while also capturing the essence of what made the series so lovable and so memorable. What makes this game stand apart from its predecessors, however, is its new tag team mechanic. As suggested in the name, players can now engage in 2-on-2 tag battles. It isn't one person in at a time either, it's all 4 battle members in at the same time, all throwing hands. Cool teams like the iconic Goku and Piccolo pairing, or hypothetical teams like Gogeta and Vegito, can be really fun to go into battle with. Certain teammates share special dialogue with each other and require certain allies for special, powerful, customizable items. You can also do combo moves with your teammates as well, or even combine 2 teammates into one, like if you do fusion with Goku and Vegeta for example. Of course, you aren't required to have tag battles. One-on-one singles battles are also an option, but the name of the game and the main focus is tag team. The game also has a fun Senzu Bean mechanic where if a battle member is knocked out, then they can eat a Senzu and get back into the fight. Multiplayer mode on this game was honestly extremely fun. This game was also the first Dragon Ball game to feature the English dub voice cast of Dragon Ball Z Kai. In terms of roster, while not as big as the other games, it has pretty much every important character from Dragon Ball Z. No GT characters unfortunately this time, but that doesn't harm the experience at all whatsoever. From Goku to Vegeta to Majin Buu to Broly, you'll have a lot of options to choose from. Movesets and controls are identical to the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 games with minor changes. So if you are a master of those games, then chances are you'll be a master at this one as well. Game modes are not lacking either. For a PSP game, this game is packed to the brim. You have your training and tutorial modes to learn how to play the game, and also free battle, customization, survival mode, and battle 100. One of the most fun aspects of the game, however, is the game's story mode. It might be the billionth retelling of the Dragon Ball Z anime, but somehow this one remains relatively fresh. You have this like mini open map that you can fly around and explore and discover new things and go on side quests in addition to the main meat of the matter. It's honestly really time consuming and engaging at the same time. There's also the special what if modes where, for example, you can play as Gogeta, like what if Gogeta fought Majin Buu instead of Vegito, or what if Goku met Bardock, or even what if Piccolo became a Majin instead of Vegeta, and more. All very interesting scenarios. I describe Tenkaichi Tag Team as a mini version of Budokai Tenkaichi 3 strapped with the fun gimmick being tag battles. There are people out there who are unaware that this game even exists, and it's a shame because it's one of the greatest Dragon Ball games I've ever played. Dragon Ball is getting a new Tenkaichi game, an official sequel to the legendary Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi trilogy from the PS2 era. This unnamed Tenkaichi 4 has really sent shockwaves through the entire gaming and anime world. It's been about a month since the initial announcement and teaser trailer, and with no real news updates on the game since then, I wanted to raise one of my major concerns regarding the game. I, like most people, grew up enjoying and playing the PS2 Dragon Ball Z games, and those games were more or less complete for the most part. But here's the thing, since those days, gaming culture has changed dramatically, for better or worse, and the culture that worries me the most is the DLC culture. Now, I am not against DLC culture at all whatsoever. I don't hate all DLC, but certain DLC practices are very unethical to me. Like, paying for content that should have been already in the base game is not ideal for me. It's unethical to me. If it's something that's genuinely new that comes up, but not enough to make up an entire new game, then I'm okay with it. But otherwise, I don't like DLC very much. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that I don't want this game to feel incomplete. I don't want to look at it and then look back at Tenkaichi 3 and be like, oh well, this game came out 15 years ago and it has way more to offer. No, I don't want that. This game does not need DLC because DLC is going to rub people the wrong way. The core fan base, most of the people who are going to buy this game are the people who played these games like 20 years ago. If they buy this game and let's say, okay, let me give a popular example. Imagine you played Tenkaichi 3 growing up and your favorite character to play is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Then you buy Tenkaichi 4 and he's not in the base game. He's DLC instead. That's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth. Or imagine you're gonna play as Gogeta Blue. You remember playing the old games and you're like, wow, I can't wait to use all of my favorite Dragon Ball Super characters in an environment like this. And all of a sudden, Gogeta Blue's not in the game. He's DLC instead. That's gonna be very demoralizing because he should be in the game. We know Blue Goku is gonna be in the game at the very least because he was in the teaser trailer. But who else is? If you look at the roster for Tenkaichi 3, it had all the important and even the not so important characters all in there from Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and the Dragon Ball movies. Locking things like Ultra Instinct Goku, Vegito Blue and stuff behind a paywall, behind DLC. These characters and these forms have been around for like a decade now. There shouldn't be an excuse to not include them in the game other than greed. Now, do I want every single character from each series to be in the game? No, I don't think that you need everyone, but at least trim the fat and include all the important ones. Characters that I can kind of justify being DLC are the characters from Dragon Ball Super Superhero, because that movie is still relatively new. I wouldn't be really mad if Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo were DLC, because they're still kind of new, so you can kind of make the argument for them. Let's start with the good first, because there genuinely are some things that I did like about this game, and I don't want to get wrapped up in a ball of hatred as we move along. So for starters, I think that the graphics are amazing. Visually, I think it's one of the best looking Dragon Ball games in terms of characters and environment. I really like the way they shade some of the characters' hair, especially the Super Saiyans. The soundtrack goes really hard too. Some of the best tracks in any Dragon Ball game. I also really enjoyed the custom characters and the options and customizations for them. There's this one hairstyle in particular that I liked, and I'm shocked that wasn't in the Xenoverse games. I literally only made a female character in the Xenoverse games because I thought that the male hairstyles sucked. So Ultimate Tenkaichi shockingly gets a point over Xenoverse for that. I also didn't hate the sections with the giant bosses, although I didn't like the execution very much. And also I think that the cover art is very nice. That's basically all the nice things that I can say about this game, honestly. As someone who grew up with the Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi games on the PS2, going onto the PS3, I had extremely high expectations for Dragon Ball games, and while they weren't always met, this one just managed to irk me the most for some reason. The name wasn't doing it any favors either. Like, for a game called Ultimate Tenkaichi, you'd at least hope that it played like the Tenkaichi games, let alone be the so-called ultimate of the bunch. It got that name through a vote, by the way, so it was never actually intended to be a part of the Tenkaichi series. Now, it's just grouped in with them by name association, although I personally just pretend that it doesn't exist aside from this video. A big part of what makes Dragon Ball games actually good is its gameplay and game modes. Because most Dragon Ball games keep retelling the story of Dragon Ball Z over and over and over, so I can assure you that Dragon Ball fans don't really buy Dragon Ball games for the story. Unless it's maybe an actual original story with some twists in it. The actual story mode isn't really all that exciting in the majority of the games, unless you haven't actually watched or read Dragon Ball or you wanna relive your favorite fights and moments. And the gameplay in this game, or lack thereof, is simply terrible. At its core, it's nothing more than a glorified rock paper scissors simulator. Like, for example, if I wanna launch an attack at my opponent, I'm given two options, and if my opponent presses the same button as me, then they block the attack. There's no combos in the game at all whatsoever, and the chain attacks are repetitive as hell. And you do have to do these to be able to super attack. It's not as easy to just charge your ki and land a super. You have to also charge ki in order to dodge, intercept, or block super attacks. There isn't any other blocking mechanics otherwise. And one of the more brain dead decisions is that you can't do your ultimate attack unless one of you are almost dead. So what's the point of doing your strongest move if you are already winning? The gameplay is just so uninspiring and dull and repetitive that honestly, you can fly through matches playing with one hand and not even looking at the screen. Sure, it may be a bit entertaining for a while, but it gets really old very fast. And that doesn't bode well for a game so gameplay reliant. Let's just quickly go through all the game modes so I can cover my bases and end my misery. You got hero mode with the custom characters that I already praised, story mode which is the same story from the last 50 games, encyclopedia stuff is good where you can read up on characters and listen to BGM, tournament mode where you can play long plodding matches, options to manage the quality of life or lack thereof, just normal battles mode where you can have general fights, and also boring mode, which is this entire game. Where the hell is Tenkaichi 4? What the hell happened? That's technically two questions, but anyways guys, if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to this channel. So, Tenkaichi 4 was officially announced in March. I remember waking up and seeing everyone losing their minds over what was going on, and I genuinely thought that it was fake, it wasn't real. Even after seeing the teaser trailer, it took me a good amount of hours to really process things. That day was something special. That brief teaser trailer single-handedly reignited the hype around the Dragon Ball franchise, not just in the gaming world, but overall. But since then, we've gotten little to no follow-up. The Dragon Ball franchise as of right now is just ice cold, it's dead in the water. Absolutely nothing interesting and nothing of note is happening, and it's been like that for a really long time. The way the franchise has been handled lately is actually criminal. But that's another video in itself that I will definitely be doing for another day. But Tenkaichi 4, like your crush, gave you some glimmer of hope before completely ghosting you. We know literally nothing about the game, other than it's a new Tenkaichi game and it's gonna be having new Dragon Ball Super characters because Super Saiyan Blue Goku was in the trailer. But that's about it. We don't know if it's gonna have the same playstyle and controls, use the same engine, story details, release dates, and console eligibility. It's so uncertain right now. Like, why would they tease us like that if they were so far from being ready? Why would they just do that? Like, did they wanna hotshot things to just throw us a bone, give us something to be excited to look forward to? Perhaps. But if you're gonna do that, then at least be consistent. Drop some info here and there. Leave us some crumbs at least. I'm not asking for them to send us copies of the game in our mail or something. Like, just give us some small tidbits, build hype and advertising. Let us get more excited. By not capitalizing on the initial hype of everything, the hype has died down and it's become an afterthought, and a game like this does not deserve that at all whatsoever. It's possible that the game is either delayed or in extremely early stages, but then they should have just waited a bit longer to reveal it in that case, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on right now with the Dragon Ball franchise, but the games are a shining beacon for it right now, and they're really carrying the franchise right now. So if they mishandle the games too, then Dragon Ball is going to be in an extremely bad state, a really boring state. The reason why this roster is going to be so huge is because back then Dragon Ball Super didn't exist. It does now. And it introduced a bunch of new characters, and I'd say quite a few of them deserve to be in this game. Let's say hypothetically they bring every character from Tenkaichi 3 over to Tenkaichi 4, and they just add like a bit more DBS characters as a bare minimum. That's already a huge roster, and Tenkaichi 3 itself is missing a couple of characters here and there. Like, we don't have, for example, adult GT Goten and GT Trunks, you know? So that could even happen too. And imagine if we get what if characters. The Raging Blast games had Super Saiyan 3 Broly and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Those were two what if characters that were added to that game. Dragon Ball Heroes could also be a factor as well. Not forgetting the aforementioned Dragon Ball Super. We got, you know, the new God forms and stuff like UI, Super Saiyan Blue and God and all that. You know, lots of new characters and new forms. And you know, there's characters like Rose Goku Black, Zamasu, Jiren, and all the hundreds of people from the Tournaments of Power whose names I forgot. They could all be in this game for all we know. That's a cause for excitement. Let's just hope that they don't make half the roster DLC content. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to this channel as well. It's a massive support, and I thank you all for your continued support. So, let's talk about Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super came into existence in 2015, and with it came a number of new characters. You know, new Saiyan characters like Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla, and new antagonists like Hit, Jiren, Goku Black, and Zamasu. I'd say that these characters are more than deserving of a spot on the roster of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. I don't think there's any debate there. There might be some not so important characters from Dragon Ball Super in the game as well. I mean, look at the Universe Survival Saga, you know, the Tournaments of Power Saga. That arc had dozens of new characters in that saga alone, and I'm not saying that they'll all be included in the game, but there's a chance that we could see quite a bunch of them, including never before seen characters making their playable video game debut, you know? And we also got characters like Gogeta Blue and Dragon Ball Super Broly from the Broly movie that are also most likely going to be in this game as well. But after the Broly movie, Dragon Ball Super's manga started to drift in a brand new direction. We got arcs like the Moro arc and the Granola arc, featuring various new characters and forms. In the Moro arc, notable new characters include Moro himself and the Angel Mirrors, while we saw Goku master Ultra Instinct for one of the 10,000 tries. Speaking of Ultra Instinct Goku, by the way, if you played the hit mobile game Dragon Ball Legends, I have the best video ever in history for you on how you can get Ultra Instinct Goku in Dragon Ball Legends the easy way. Vegeta also learned the cool Force Spirit Vision technique. And we also saw in the Granola arc that we got new characters such as Granola himself and the Heaters, as well as Vegeta learning the polarizing Ultra Ego form of the Hakaishins. Goku meanwhile mastered Ultra Instinct for the 72 billionth time. And of course we got Black Frieza as well, Frieza's new form. These have been the highlights of the Dragon Ball Super manga since the anime ended back in 2018, which feels like yesterday, but was actually about 5 years or so ago. Now, the big question is, will these manga characters and forms be included in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4? To put it shortly, no, they will not. There is no chance in hell. I mean, there's a small chance, but here's a couple of reasons as to why I think this is. And number one is, I think that the games follow the anime continuity more so than the manga, and I mean this in general, so even the original Dragon Ball manga as well. And the Super manga and the Super anime have quite a few differences. Like, at this point they almost feel like different continuities at times. So I don't think that we will get these things in the game if they are manga exclusive. If they were in the anime or in a movie, let's say, then they probably would, like, at least at the bare minimum, be DLC. The existence of Dragon Ball Super, and with previous games containing characters from all the different series and movies, it's likely to have quite a bit of DBS characters now too. But which are the most important, the most essential? I'm Blazed Apples, and these are 10 must-have Dragon Ball Super characters for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. But before we begin, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to this channel and comment which characters you want to see in the game as well. But let's move on with the list. 10. Android 17. The MVP of the Tournament of Power. To me, bringing back Android 17 was one of the best decisions made in Super. He was arguably one of the coolest and most slick characters in the entire series, and he's much stronger now too as well. Rubbing shoulders with the likes of Goku and Jiren himself, 17 is not to be taken lightly despite his calm demeanor. Just imagine how creative you could get using that force field in-game too. I for one am very excited to see DBS 17 join the fight. 9. Kaba. The first Universe 6 Saiyan that we've ever encountered, Kaba is unlike most Saiyans that we've encountered previously. He's quite kind and very respectful, but he still has the fiery passion of a Saiyan warrior, as demonstrated in his fight with Vegeta, allowing him to unlock the Super Saiyan form for the first time, and later he also unlocks Super Saiyan 2. He is a key character in the series and is definitely looking to get his win back against Vegeta in Tenkaichi 4. 8. Toppo. The leader of the Pride Troopers from the Tournaments of Power is quite an interesting character to me. With his strong sense of justice, he unleashes some very powerful attacks, but what happens when he casts that justice aside? Well, he basically embraces his inner god of destruction and will Hakai everything and everyone if he needs to. We've seen him do some really creative stuff in the series too, so I'd love to see how he looks in the game, how that translates into the game. 7. Zamasu. Speaking of justice, the Supreme Kai in training of Universe 10, when he's not making tea, he can be quite deadly. Using various different amounts of keyblades to slice and dice opponents, while his immortality makes him unafraid to throw himself in the front lines offensively or defensively. We will be accepting divine punishment when he is done with us in the game as well. 6. Jiren. The main antagonist of the Tournaments of Power and the strongest member of the Pride Troopers. Simply put, Jiren doesn't have much character to him. He's just a really strong alien who just throws hands, who just wants to throw hands. And that's cool. Enough said. Why the hell wouldn't you want him in a game like this? 5. Broly. Like his DBZ counterpart, DBS Broly is an absolute freak of nature. The Mutant Saiyan Hulk would be an amazing addition to the roster as he has various different ways of smashing and pummeling opponents in a very aesthetically pleasing but destructive fashion. Broly is also one of the most popular Dragon Ball characters ever, so it would be foolish to not include him in this game, and who wouldn't want him anyway? 4. Hit. The legendary assassin Hit. This guy is one of the coolest Dragon Ball characters ever, bro. He has such a mystique, such a unique aura about him. Being a hitman means that his fighting style is quite lethal and pinpointed, and in a Tenkaichi environment, that would be very interesting to watch. Let's not forget about the dreaded time skip ability as well, which is sure to leave people rage quitting as we jump through time. 3. Goku Black. Evil Goku Black. Evil Goku. The best villain in all of Dragon Ball Super. The combination of Son Goku's Saiyan power with the mind of Zamasu create this deadly warrior ready to make us taste his divine fury with these piercing blades and with his dimension-cutting scythe. Goku Black has the potential to be one of the most fun characters in the entire game, and he is sure to be a fan favorite as well. 2. Ultra Instinct Goku. The coolest form in Dragon Ball Super. Ultra Instinct Goku is so majestic. The mastery of self-movement helps him be almost untouchable, become untouchable, with the ability to dodge almost anything without even thinking about it, and still being able to pack a punch if he needs to. This form broke the internet once upon a time. It broke mobile games as well, and now it could be set to break our PlayStations and our controllers and the entire system as well. Ultra Instinct Goku will soar into Tenkaichi 4. Before we move on with number 1, I want to do some honorable mentions. So let's go with Beast Gohan, Orange Piccolo, DBS Trunks, Gamma 1 and 2, Kale, and Caulifla. If I didn't mention your favorite character, cry. But number 1 is the Fusion Warriors. Basically, all the cool fusions from Dragon Ball Super need to be in this game. You can't tell me that Vegito Blue and Gogeta Blue are gonna be left out. That's just not gonna happen. I mean, we may have to toss a few more bucks for them, but they are gonna be here. Fuse Zamasu as well, corrupted Fuse Zamasu also, with his divine wrath and crying, would just be godly. And let's not forget about the strongest female Saiyan, and the first female fusion Saiyan ever, Kefla. I had to put all of these characters together because they would have just dominated the list otherwise, and they technically fit the same category as Fusion Warrior. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4's official name appears to have now been revealed. Also guys, remember to hit the like button, very important to the growth of the channel. It really helps. So, for those of you who didn't know, in Japan, the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series is actually not called Budokai Tenkaichi, it is called Sparking. Think of it as a nod to the Chala Head Chala song. Budokai Tenkaichi 1 is known as Dragon Ball Z Sparking, 2 is Sparking Neo, and 3 is Sparking Meteor. And now it seems that the 4th game is going to be called Sparking Zero. Or at least that is the codename for the project as of now. It is being reported that Bandai has filed a trademark for this name, which likely means that it is indeed going to be the official name, at least in Japan, for the game. As for Western audiences, I'm not really sure. It could be called Budokai Tenkaichi 4, Budokai Tenkaichi Sparking, Budokai Tenkaichi Burst, Super Budokai Tenkaichi, Budokai Tenkaichi Zero. The possibilities are endless, honestly. You know, I don't know why this always happens, but the hyper stuff always seems to come out when I'm asleep or something like that because of the time zones and all. But the trailer for Budokai Tenkaichi 4 dropped, and another trailer I should say, and I guess it's called Sparking Zero now, I should say. But yeah, so like I'm gonna check it out right now. Let's see. Okay, we got the rocky area. There's a fight going on. It's Goku and Vegeta. The new Budokai Tenkaichi begins. Oh, look at this combat. There's a Gallic gun. Kamehameha, he dodged, he slapped it away. They're both going blue now. Beam Clash. Ooh. Dimension shattering. Okay, there's Frieza. Supernova. He's destroying the planet. Nice fighting. There's Broly. Super Saiyan. There's Piccolo, there's various characters. What a trailer, guys. So there you have it, guys. What was once referred to as Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, now Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. This is only part of the journey, and if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking and leaving a comment down below. I will be doing another one of these right before Sparking Zero releases, if this one does well. So if you enjoyed it, show some support, share it with your friends as well if you want. I actually was pretty sick and I couldn't speak very well at all, or in some cases I couldn't speak at all, but I wanted to put out something special, and you know, I hope you guys appreciate it. And if you made it this far in the video, I just want to thank you for watching. Have a great day, and maybe check out some other videos on the channel.